Warhammer 40k is filled with weapons powerful enough to tear planets apart, so the armor that survives them has to be something extraordinary. Golden plate for the Emperor's Chosen, thick exoskeletons grown for galactic predators, nanometal shells that rebuild mid-battle. Everyone has their own flavor of unkillable. These are 10 of the strongest armor types in the galaxy, one impossible material at a time. Necrodermis is not so much a suit of armor as it is just the entire Necron. It's everything: their body, their armor, and the vessel that carries whatever remains of their consciousness. They even use it to contain the shards of their Catan gods. Necrodermis looks metallic but behaves more like a living organism, shifting, repairing, and reshaping itself with unnerving precision. That's because it's built from billions of nanoscarab constructs, each reacting to damage by rebuilding the structure on the spot. And when the nanoscarabs can't keep up, when the body is truly overwhelmed, the Necron doesn't die. They phase out, teleporting back to their tombs in order to be rebuilt and redeployed later. And some Necrons can push their regenerative abilities even further. Certain dynasties and talented individuals command an exceptional degree of control over their nanoscarabs, reshaping their bodies into claws, blades, or entirely new forms. Flayed ones do this instinctively, driven by the madness gnawing at their minds, forming talons out of their own cursed metal. Trazyn the Infinite takes it to another level entirely. He can regrow a full body, rebuilding its structure or simply stepping into a new shell in moments. A walking museum curator who never stays dead long enough for it to really matter. The Necron tier first used this material for starship hulls, then for the bodies of the Catan, and finally, tragically, for their own people through biotransference. For the Necrons, it is both prison and protection, binding them to immortality in bodies that never stop rebuilding. Just like with the Necrons, Tyranid armor isn't armor at all, it's chitin, a living, growing exoskeleton that protects every vulnerable part of the creature beneath it, just like with the much less dangerous insects we all know. But unlike anything found on Earth, Tyranid chitin scales with the size and purpose of each bioform, growing denser and harder the larger a creature gets. When a Tyranid needs more protection, it simply grows it. Thick, resinous secretions harden into fresh layers of ablative plating, giving the creature a renewed shell every time it molts or evolves. Above basic chitin, Tyranids can develop specialized armor biomorphs. The extended carapace biomorph forms additional layers of overlapping plates that wrap around the creature like a biological shield wall. Hardened carapace goes even further, with the organism fusing carbon and silicon-heavy materials into its chitin to create something closer to organic ceramite, a thick, unyielding shell that shrugs off small fire with ease. But the pinnacle of Tyranid protection is the bonded exoskeleton. This isn't just a thicker carapace, it grows alongside the creature as a living extension of its body. Layered bone, muscle, cartilage, and hyper-dense chitin fuse into a single massive frame, turning monsters like carnifexes into lumbering engines of destruction. Given time, this exoskeleton becomes almost impossible to breach, especially when paired with the constant adaptations poured into it by the hive mind. With every evolution, Tyranid armor matches or surpasses even the most advanced technology in the galaxy. They don't need ceramite, alloys, or shields. Their bodies are the weapon and the armor all at once. And when the galaxy changes, the Tyranids simply grow something new. Across the Imperium's endless armies, most soldiers march into battle wearing basic flak armor. It's light, cheap, and good enough for most battlefield conditions, but stack it up against carapace armor, and the difference becomes obvious pretty fast. Where flak is a general issue vest made from layers of impact-absorbent materials, carapace is heavy, rigid body armor. The kind you normally see on veterans, specialists, or troopers who have earned the privilege of not dying instantly. Carapace is built from overlapping rigid plates, usually armoplast, though some variants slot in actual ceramite. Armoplast is a heat-absorbing plastic metal composite material, so it can take a beating from most standard arms. Shrapnel, barely a concern. Autoguns and lasguns, they struggle but can manage. This armor type is so effective that even Space Marines use a version of carapace for their scout armor. These suits are scaled up for Astartes physiology and use ceramite over armoplast, but the idea is the same. tough, reliable protection for warriors who haven't earned a full power armor suit yet. Unlike the Imperium, the Earth-cast engineers of the Tau Empire found one good material for their armor and decided to use it on everything. Every plate, every suit, every battlesuit chassis is built on a foundation of ultra-dense nanocrystalline metals, shaped into segmented armor that's light, flexible, and tough enough to survive exchanges with far older and more brutal civilizations. For their infantry, these plates are bonded to a thermoset molecular polythene layer, creating a composite that absorbs impact without weighing down the soldier. Fire warriors wear this armor as a full ensemble: helmet, breastplate, thigh guards, van braces, and the Tau signature asymmetric pauldrons, small on the left and oversized on the right. Recon troops strip this setup down to the essentials, pairing a lightweight breastplate and helmet with nanofiber fatigues threaded for sensor resistance and sound absorption. Tau battlesuits take the same materials and scale them up dramatically. Crisis suits remain surprisingly agile for their size, with plates designed to deflect incoming energy and specialized coatings that help disperse laser fire. In terms of protection, they can stand shoulder to shoulder with Space Marine power armor. The broadside and riptide go even further, layering enough nanocomposite plating to reach near Terminator levels of resilience. And the Tau never stop improving. Iridium armor plates, painfully expensive to manufacture and brutally strong, offer reinforced protection against sniper fire and precision shots. Each generation of battlesuit only gets tougher. Imperial power armor is some of the toughest in the galaxy, with Astartes battleplate being one of the most advanced forms of protection the Imperium has access to. Power armor consists of many parts: fiber bundles to enhance the wearer's strength on top of a skeleton of plasteel, which is then covered in adamantium, and most importantly, ceramite plates. Ceramite forms the outer skin of a Space Marine's armor. This ceramic metallic hyperalloy barely conducts heat at all, which is why even plasma blasts and meltifire struggle to punch through a full suit. Its honeycombed interior scatters incoming energy and force, so only the strongest projectile weapons have any real chance of biting into it. And when ceramite does take damage, it doesn't crack or cave in, it shears away layer by layer, making field repairs as simple as adding more material on top. And that's just the plating. The real magic is in the support systems. Inside the helmet, for instance, you'll find auto-senses, thought-activated comms, targeting overlays, and acoustic dampeners that keep a Marine's eardrums from liquefying whenever something explodes too close. The photo lenses covering the eyes bring infrared, ultraviolet, and low-light visibility and keep the user from being flash-blinded. The armor also keeps its wearer alive and moving no matter what's happening around them. Built-in life sign monitors track everything, and the suit's internal reservoirs provide nutrients and water so a warrior can march for days without stopping. Along the spine are injector ports loaded with combat stimulants, usually painkillers meant to keep a wounded Marine in the fight, though some chapters slip in less than Codex-approved formulas. And because Space Marines are Space Marines, their armor also doubles as a void suit. It's fully sealed for vacuum work, comes with magnetic soles for boarding actions, and even those massive shoulder pads can shift automatically to give the wearer a full range of motion. They look bulky, but the armor moves with the Marine, not against them. Finally, every suit is powered by the Backpack Reactor, a compact nuclear unit that lets a Marine fight for months at a time without worrying about power reserves. It also regulates temperature, keeping the wearer alive in everything from the freezing vacuum of space to volcanic heat. Even if the power pack is destroyed, the armor holds enough charge to keep its Marine moving for several minutes. And in case all else fails, the pack carries a deployable solar array. Astartes power armor comes in dozens of variants spread across 9 official marks. Remember how we said there are few things in the galaxy that genuinely outclass Space Marine power armor? Well, here's one of them: the auramite battleplate of the Adeptus Custodes. Auramite is essentially the stronger golden brother of ceramite, better in every way. Auramite is a rare substance, it's one of the most valuable materials in the Imperium. A single suit of the stuff costs more than entire worlds can generate. It's famously resistant to heat, energy, and even quantum inert, making it extremely protective against the powers of the warp, which is why the Emperor uses it for his own armor and for his chosen bodyguards. Outside the Custodes, the only known Primarchs to wear auramite were Sanguinius and Rogel Dorn, which should tell you just how rare this material really is. Regardless, Custodes armor isn't just superior to Space Marine plate, it's in a different league entirely. Astartes armor is mass-produced for thousands of legionnaires. Custodes armor is handcrafted, tailored, and perfected for a single warrior. Where a Space Marine's plate hums, snarls, and vibrates with barely contained power, Custodes armor moves in complete silence. And on the inside, each custodian inscribes every name, title, and honor they have earned, turning the armor into a living record of their deeds. Auramite's natural color gleams like molten gold, but through tightly guarded alchemical processes, it can be altered at the molecular level into other hues, making each suit a work of art. The Custodes field 3 primary armor types: Auric Warplate, Auric Demiplate, and Auric Battleplate. Auric Warplate is the closest thing they have to a standard issue suit, adaptive, durable, and ornate. Auric Demiplate is the lightweight variant, worn by Custodes equipped with jet bikes or Venatari jump harnesses, and it's extensively used by the Eyes of the Emperor, the secret agents of the Custodian Guard. It sacrifices some protection for speed, turning its wearer into a golden blur capable of striking and vanishing before the enemy even understands what hit them. Auric Warplate is the absolute best the Imperium can make. These suits are reserved for the highest ranks, tribunes, and the Captain General himself. Their shielding generators are even more advanced than the already absurd technology used by standard Custodes armor, offering protection that borders on invulnerability. Among the Custodes, who already stand above the rest of the Imperium as living demigods, Auric Warplate is the armor of legends. By contrast, the Aeldari make use of armor that seems almost too light. They aren't exactly fans of heavy, clattering armor. Even the gentle hum of idling Space Marine plate is something they'd call clumsy. Yet their armor remains some of the most advanced in the universe, elegant, reactive, and perfectly tuned to the warrior who wears it. Most Eldar go to war in mesh armor, a weave of thermoplast that stays flexible until the instant it's struck, hardening to deflect the blow. But the elite Aspect warriors wear something even more advanced. Aspect armor is crafted from psycho-reactive wraithbone and shaped flawlessly to its bearer, meaning it never restricts movement and reacts to the warrior's intent. Like mesh armor, it hardens the moment it's hit, but it also carries solid plates for key impact points. Wraithbone is used for practically everything in Aeldari culture, and that's due not just to how strong and light it is as a material, but also how easy it is to shape and call into existence. As far as we can tell, Wraithbone is solidified warp energy, psychic intention called into the material universe by specialized psychers called Bone Singers. Every Aeldari can manipulate Wraithbone on their own, but Bone Slingers specialize in the art, using their psychic abilities to create everything from beautiful architecture to tanks, constructs, and of course, armor suits. These suits are often handed down from one warrior to the next as an Aeldari leaves the path or dies, which introduces a pretty severe wrinkle. Because both the armor and the wearer are mentally attuned, training in these suits must come at the end of an Aspect warrior's training, as without emotional discipline, a young warrior can be overwhelmed by the rage and fear of those who wore the armor before them. Each Aspect shrine specializes in its own style of war, so each maintains its own variant of Aspect armor. Dire Avengers, Howling Banshees, and Swooping Hawks favor lighter suits built for speed and evasion, armor meant to avoid hits rather than absorb them. Striking Scorpions and Warp Spiders go the other direction, using heavy Aspect armor that rivals Space Marine power armor in sheer protection. As well, each shrine incorporates signature war gear unique to its discipline. Banshees wear their iconic screaming masks, unleashing psychic wails that paralyze enemies with terror. Swooping Hawks take the skies on anti-grav wings, and the list of specialized equipment only widens from there. But the pinnacle of Eldar armorcraft is Phoenix armor. These legendary suits carry the souls of their respective Phoenix lords, making each new wearer merge with the echo of the hero who came before and allowing the Phoenix Lord to rise again in an unbroken chain that means these heroes become immortal in a very unique way. There is only one such suit per lord, and each is older than most human civilizations. The armor worn by the Drukhari looks similar to what their Craftworld cousins wear. Layers of light psycho-reactive mesh that hardens when force is applied, but The philosophy behind it couldn't be more different. Their kit is built for speed, cruelty, and sudden violence, and every piece of it reflects that. Drukhari always wear fully pressurized armor during their raids, letting them move effortlessly through vacuum, toxins, or a collapsing ship without breaking stride. That part makes sense. What makes less sense, unless you're a Drukhari, is how the armor is attached. Instead of straps or seals, their plates are anchored with hooks and barbs that bite directly into the wearer's skin. The constant pain sharpens their senses and fuels the dark energy that empowers them. Archons, the sadistic leaders of the Drukhari, take this to another level, of course. Some wear trophy-covered armor to broadcast their status, but many favor ghostplate, a cruel twist on traditional Aeldari design. It's lightweight, flexible, and grown from hardened resin infused with pockets of lighter-than-air gas, giving it a strange buoyancy. The armor provides a decent protection on its own, but its real strength comes from what's built into it. Compact force field generators, shadow fields that wrap the wearer in a ripple of darkness, and stealth tech that lets an Archon appear and vanish between heartbeats. Put together, Ghostplate turns an Archon into something truly terrifying, a blur of motion, pain-fueled precision, and flickering shadows. Basically, a speed-running Terminator wrapped in perpetual gloom. Spooky. We've talked about Imperial armor, Xenos armor, and even the handcrafted miracles worn by the Custodes, but during the Great Crusade, when the Imperium was rediscovering the shattered descendants of Old Earth, they discovered a human civilization whose war gear rivaled the Imperium's and maybe surpassed it. The Interex. The Interex were a wildly advanced alien-human mixed society whose long coexistence with the Aeldari and their deep study of the warp's dangers made them one of the most valuable potential allies humanity could have ever hoped for, if they could get past their xenophobia. Their soldiers carried longbows that looked ceremonial but could punch straight through a space marine in full plate, and their armor was even more impressive. When a bolt round hit an Interex warrior, their armor didn't shatter or crack. In fact, it barely even dented. The soldier inside was an unmodified human, so they died from the shock of the mass reactive explosion, but not because the armor failed. Whatever their plating was made from, they used it in all of their protective gear, including their mobile fighting platforms that were designed to make an Interex warrior look like a centaur from early Terran myths. The fact that the suit absorbed the blast from a bolter without catastrophic damage shows just how far the Interex had pushed human science since the dark age of technology. But we unfortunately never got to learn exactly what this armor was made out of, because the Imperium and the Interex never joined forces to save the galaxy together, which begs the question, why? Easy. Erebus. The Interex kept warp-tainted artifacts locked away as warnings of chaos, and of course, Erebus wanted them. So when he staged a theft to steal those relics, framing the Imperium in the process, the Interex retaliated. A misunderstanding became a war became a massacre, and humanity's best possible ally was wiped out before anyone even knew what had really happened. Two birds, one shock blast, and Erebus ruined yet another good thing. Both Custodes and Space Marine armor make use of adamantium, but never as the main defensive layer. Even the mighty Terminator suits rely more on ceramite plating than the adamantium framework beneath, but there is one suit in the Imperium built almost entirely from adamantium. A singular relic worn by the abbess of the Adepta Sororitas, the Purgator Mirabilis. This piece of armor is a one-of-a-kind Paragon warsuit, a towering weapons platform that turns Morven Val into a one-woman crusade. Once severely damaged, the suit was painstakingly restored in M37 by the Fabricator General of Mars himself, a gift of gratitude to the Sisters of Battle for saving a lost Forge world. The restoration took centuries, and the result is a relic unlike anything else in the Imperium. Its armor is made from layered adamantium plates so dense and so resilient that strikes capable of crippling a Space Marine chapter master barely slow Morven down. A powerful energy field bolsters this already absurd durability, and Morven's unwavering faith does the rest. Honestly, she could probably walk through a nuclear blast and come out looking better than the salamanders did at Eastvan. The suit's machine spirit accepts only the most devoted champions of the Sororitas, binding itself to warriors whose faith burns bright enough to wield its full power. Alongside her heavy bolter Fidelis, Morven wields the Custodes forged Lance of Illumination, a weapon so massive and so potent that it can only be used properly while she's encased within the Purgator Mirabilis warsuit. In a setting full of legendary armor, the Purgator Mirabilis stands alone. So, which suit of armor would you most want if you were in the 40k universe? We couldn't even cover every suit that could have made this list, so you should let us know which one you'd like to see covered next time. And while you're in the comments, consider giving us a like or subscription, and why not consider joining the More Lorganization. Supporting us as an initiate helps keep the lore polished and sanctified, while Battle Brothers can get early access to each new mark of video, and Chapter Masters get their names inscribed onto the pure adamantium plating of more lore.